Greetings, movie flicker pickers and podcast listeners. This is the Pic-a-Flic podcast, a series that covers a variety of film and sometimes TV in a rapid-fire fashion, most of the time. In this episode, join me as I pay my respects to a movie that a certain studio, Warner Brothers, is grieving after disappointing box office results. But more than that, I'll give you my thoughts on the film and whether it's enjoyable enough to recommend or not. In case you haven't read the title by this point, that movie is Mickey 17, adapted from the novel Mickey 7 by Edward Ashton. Because this is a movie that is a no-brainer that they had to add an additional 10 Mickeys. The film adaptation was directed by the acclaimed Bong Joon-Ho, who directed such titles as Snowpiercer and Parasite, the latter of course awarding him 3 Oscars for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay. Well, this time go around, the director has stacked up a stacked cast of players and an interesting story at that. What is said story about, you may wonder? Well, here's the surface level story without getting too spoilery. Taking place in the future, we have Robert Pattinson as Mickey, a man who is the epitome of the phrase "not long for this world," as he ends up on a mission in the role of disposable test dummy, where he practically commits on repeat. And every time he dies, he's replicated in a new version of him spawns, with most of his memories still intact, and this is apparently advancing scientific aspects of the human race. Things seem to be going similarly well until the 17th version of Mickey finds himself joining forces with the 18th version of himself to defend some strange creatures, all the while dealing with a cartoonishly despicable overlord and a former politician. Oh, how timely. Upon finishing my watch for the film, I wrote up the pros and cons I felt about it. But let's get into the good first. This cast is pretty stellar. Robert Pattinson in particular does a terrific job balancing off of himself and these 2 versions of himself with vastly different personalities and attitudes. Ultimately, he plays the character or characters with enough conviction that makes you feel absolute sympathy for him having to endure the process of being replicated over and over again. I would be remiss to add that it did take some time getting used to the Adam Sandler adjacent voice that he put on for Mickey number 17, but I got used to it as the film progressed. Beyond Pattinson, the movie also boasts a terrific supporting cast with a few particular standouts. Naomi Ackie, who I'm familiar with from previous films such as Blink Twice and Whitney Houston biopic I Want to Dance With Somebody, plays the role of Mickey's girlfriend with whimsy and punch, and has some terrific chemistry that balances the 2 Pattinsons. Toni Collette and Mark Ruffalo play characters that looks like they could be cosplaying televangelists Paula White and Benny Hinn on paper, but in actuality they're due to the levels of unhinged. For me, Ruffalo, while a terrific actor through and through, is fun to watch. His grossly noticeable veneers occasionally made his performance more distracting than Rami Malek in his Oscar-winning romp as Freddie Jupiter in Bohemian Rhapsody. But given that this is a dark comedy, it kind of blends in. And as for Toni Collette, she matches Ruffalo's unhinged freakiness by taking things a step further, with a bizarre obsession over sauce and forcing people to taste it. Honestly, her love of sauce is probably the most relatable thing to me in this movie. Do you know how frustrating it is when the sauce you order with your meal from a delivery app doesn't make it with what you ordered? Even worse if you paid for it. I honestly got into Toni Collette's sauce adoration that I honestly watched a separate film about how she got to that point. Beyond the performances, I do think that there are elements that do work. For instance, the lighting and tone complement each other well. The story is dark, so everything looks moody and bleak. And bonus points in the production design and score for really honing in on that sci-fi vibe. And at the same time, there are elements that could have worked, had they had more depth and time to cook on. At some point, several plot points overlap each other, with most ending on an unresolved or abbreviated note. For instance, I was interested to see more on the backstory of the worm creatures that spare Mickey, number I already forgot, as well as the friendship between Mickey and his best friend played by Stephen Yeun. Perhaps the novel will enlighten me on this further when I actually read it later. While this is something I'm willing to overlook, the runtime, clocking it at 2 hours and a dime, could suggest that it could have been cut down a bit and more focused on certain pieces of the story better. Overall, on the Pic-a-Flic rating scale, I would give Mickey 17 a lightweight 4 out of 5 Mickey Mouse-shaped popcorn buckets. Fun performances and themes battling an inconsistent storyline, but fun wins out in the end. If you like dark comedies with a sci-fi and thriller edge, I highly recommend you check it out. I think the studio just put it out on digital this week as a matter of fact. I'm intrigued to see what Bong Joon-Ho cooks up next, as he is a terrific filmmaker, so it should be interesting what he does. And that will be our wrap on this episode. Next up on the pod, I'm likely going to put my thoughts on the first season of the hit Hulu series Paradise into one episode instead of a 2-parter. Also, at some point next month, I'll be doing a 20th anniversary retrospective on one of DreamWorks' animated staples, Madagascar. And if you're clinically online about movie debates like I am, I definitely plan on discussing this before that one tweet asking which one of 4 DreamWorks franchises you would eliminate. The other 3 for context being Shrek, How to Train Your Dragon, and Kung Fu Panda. Me personally, the dragon would have to go, but that's besides the point. If you'd like to be among the first to get notifications of when new reviews and episodes drop, make sure you subscribe to the pod wherever you listen to said shows. And hey, tell a friend to tell another friend to check it out. All support and feedback is appreciated. If you're listening on YouTube and you enjoyed this episode, make sure you smash the like button, comment, subscribe, you know the drill. Also, if you want to follow the show on social media, we can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok under the username handle at Pic-a-Flic. That is at PICAFLICPOD. Also, if review logging is your thing, then you may be familiar with Letterboxd, where you can also find non-audio exclusive reviews that I do under the aforementioned username Pic-a-Flic. So be sure to follow me there and use that platform. Once again, thank you for all tuning into this podcast. And until the next one, this is the Western Wonder, and I'm signing out.
Beware of the worms.
No! Not the ball worms!
Bye, have a great time.